Hey guys, I found 5 things at the Miami Boat Show that we need to figure out for the houseboat, so let's talk about them. First, let's talk about bow thrusters. So I think I saw 6 different brands of these at the boat show, and we've never had one before, but since we're adding 8 feet to the middle of this boat, I don't think we can get away without having one. Here we go. Here's some of the bow thrusters. There's tons of different brands, but this is basically what we need on the houseboat. It's like a 16-inch propeller. They've got it hooked up. Here we go. Ooh. Go the other way. Whoa. Go the other way. That thing doesn't mess around. Whoa. Hey, what kind of a bow thruster? Do you guys have one for 50-foot houseboat size?
We have them up to 150 foot.
Oh, okay.
But
what?
Just stupid. They're too big to put in this booth. So yours would be a DC unit.
DC, yeah. 250-140.
Let me just do this.
8 kilowatt. Okay. Here's why I think we need a bow thruster on the boat. So I drove it for 10 years without one, and here's how it would typically go. We would go up to the lake on a Friday afternoon, and we would pull out of the dock, no matter what the weather was really like, because it didn't matter. We were just pulling out of the boathouse and going across the lake. But then Sunday afternoon would roll around, and we've all got to go to work on Monday, so no matter what, we'd have to get this boat docked. And at Texoma, it's always windy. There's 20 mile an hour, 30 mile an hour winds. So here's what would usually happen. So I'd have both engines in reverse, and I'd be backing up towards the dock, trying to be at an angle towards the wind. And we would get just a couple feet away from the dock to where we're about to hit, and then I would go, in this example, on the starboard transmission into forward. I'd keep the port transmission in reverse. So now I've got the propellers spinning opposite directions, and I would start to pivot the boat counterclockwise. And it would ram the back of the boat against the dock, and that's what we would pivot against. Now on the engines, you couldn't just do this at idle, so usually I'd have to have the Ford 351s back there at half throttle, 3/4 throttle, just throwing a tidal wave of water off of the back of the boat to get enough power to pivot the front of this boat in the wind. But that's a pain, so if we had a bow thruster, instead of ramming the back of the boat against the dock so hard, you could come in, use a bow thruster to help bring the nose around in the wind, and then put both transmissions in reverse and back into the dock without destroying everything. If you look at the back of the boat on the wood, you can see where it's worn away from us pivoting off of docks so many times in the wind. Okay, now what that would mean is coming up here to the bow of the boat and cutting a hole on both sides somewhere in this area, run a tube through, fiberglass back over it. All right, but let's see if we've even got room in the front of this thing to put a bow thruster. It's been a minute since I've been in here, so let's see what kind of goodies we got. Ooh, yeah. Up here in this bow storage, this wood obviously rotted, just like everything else on the boat. But I think if I rip this up, looks like there's probably another foot below this. So there'd be room to put a bow thruster, maybe build a box over the top of it, and then we'd still have storage for, you know, anchor, chain, anchor, things like that. Now, as far as the battery bank goes, on the other side of this wall is the little front bedroom. So in here, there's this area where the stairs are. So I think this might be a good spot for a 24-volt battery bank. Okay, the second thing I saw at the boat show, we need an actual marine refrigerator. So right here, we used to have just one of those cheapo apartment mini fridge kind of deals. I think it was 350 bucks from Walmart. So a couple reasons it wasn't that great. It only ran on AC electricity. So we would fill it up with food for the weekend and then have to leave the generator running the entire weekend to keep everything cold. And second, the condenser coils on the back that generate all the heat just generate heat into the living room area here. And then you've got to have another heat exchanger, the air conditioner, take the heat out of the boat. So what these guys were showing me at the boat show, these fridges now, they can run off of AC power or 12 volt or 24 volt. So after you turn the generator off, they can fail back to a battery bank, just run off of DC electricity. So that way you don't have to leave the generator running all day. And second, they've got remote mount compressor and condenser coils. So you can set them 5 or 6 feet away. So if we had a fridge in this area right here, we don't necessarily have to have the condenser coils and heat right here. You could have them even upstairs outside if you wanted, maybe in some kind of an enclosure up on the roof. All right, number 3. actual marine air conditioners. So what we had on the houseboat, and I just patched this hole here, was like the rooftop RV style air conditioners. And it worked okay, but they're loud. If you've ever been in an RV before with one of these on, you know, the air blowing out of them, you can barely talk when you're next to them. And they don't cool that great. They're not that efficient because the compressor and condenser, they're outside in the heat. And when it's 110 degrees in Texas, it's hard for it to take that heat off of the condenser coils. So the idea is, instead of having air blowing over the condenser coils, you're basically floating in nice cool water. Even if it's 80 degrees, that's way better than air. All the new boats run these small water-cooled air conditioners that you can kind of place wherever you want around the boat. So I talked to a few companies, and here's how the system would probably work. We would start back in the engine room and install a fresh water pump that would take lake water and send it through plumbing under the floor, and we stop along the way to install those small air conditioner units. So in the first bedroom, we could install one under the bed, and that would keep that bedroom cool. And then we could make our way towards the front of the boat and stop in the electrical cabinet and have an air conditioner unit in there that would pump out into the living room to keep the living room cool. And then we'd go all the way to the front of the boat to the master bedroom, and we can install a third air conditioner unit there to keep that front bedroom cool. So what do you guys think of that idea? Pump back here in the engine room, and then we run plumbing all the way. We stop in this bedroom, we stop in this closet here, and we keep going up to the front bedroom. And then that way you can turn them off and on as you need them. It's not like the big rooftop AC that's running all the time. I think it'd be way better. They're probably not cheap though. All right, the number 4 thing we need after being at the boat show, fly-by-wire controls for this boat. We've talked about it before. We've got to get rid of the cables. They're a pain, they break, and everything is going fly-by-wire now. There's a company there that actually makes a system to convert old boats like this from old cable controls into fly-by-wire. They've got the remote control that I was thinking about doing.
It allows you to go to fly-by-wire.
Okay.
Okay, so this, you would put this in your engine room, and they're momentary switches. So
Momentary switch?
yeah,
Okay.
so if you want to stay in gear, see how it goes into gear?
Yep.
If you want to stay in gear, you gotta hold it. If your regular controls, when you turn it on,
You're on that.
you're on yacht control.
That's awesome. Okay.
And then you can use this anywhere on the boat. I go all the way down to the end over there, and still have.
This is awesome, guys. This is what we were talking about doing. Check it out. Let's go in gear. In gear. What's that delay? 0, what, like less than a second? Less than a second. And then let's go full throttle. I mean, that's perfect. That's fine for a houseboat. Plus, you get a remote. That's pretty cool. $20,000 though. $20,000 on that. So they did say they would allow a DIY setup. So they would sell you that system and let you install it, but they would have to go through a vetting process. And I don't know if we would pass their vetting process. What they're saying is you would replace these controls up here and upstairs on the flybridge with their electronic version, run the wiring all the way to the back of the boat to the engine room. And in the engine room is where you put that box and you attach really short cables to the transmission and throttles. So you can have that remote control, drive from anywhere on the boat. Last year I showed you guys the homemade version of this that we're building in the shop. I don't know if we'll keep going down that road or with a company that already has this working, but either way, we're gonna go fly-by-wire. All right, so the number 5 thing we need after going to the boat show is a good generator. So there's so many companies now that make generators for every different size. The thing is, they're all diesel now, and the guy said they're kind of moving away from gas generators for safety. And he also said someone has a patent on the gas generator technology, so they can't really make them cheap. I don't know if that's true or not. One reason we've been talking about maybe switching to diesel because we had that happen. $16,000 for a 5 kW diesel generator. $16,000. So I think we're gonna try to get our old Kohler that we got running back at the shop. The other problem with going to diesel is on Lake Texoma, there's only a few marinas that have diesel fuel. So here's what we're thinking about doing. That old boat that we cut up where we got this middle piece that we're inserting here, It had a good Kohler generator in it that the guy said runs. I've got it in the shop. All right, so this is the old Kohler 7.5 kW that we got out of that old houseboat. It's a gas generator. It's supposed to run. You can see it's missing a fuel pump. We need some exhaust hose, obviously. Who knows what else it needs? Probably your normal spark plugs, things like that. So I think maybe on one of the next videos when I get some time, we'll see if we can get this thing to run, put it under a load if it does run, see if it actually makes good power. Here would be the one negative that really might be tough. Look at this. Whoop. So, 1980s circuit boards here. Now all this stuff might be built pretty good and still work, but if this little board ever goes out, can't figure out what's wrong, you're not getting parts for this thing. Kohler doesn't care about you anymore. They're building new generators. They've moved on. What do you guys think? $16,000 for a new diesel generator? Or we fix this little guy up here. It's gas, but it looks okay. All right, so that's the 5 things that stood out to me for the houseboat restoration that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. We appreciate you guys watching as always, and we'll see y'all in the next video.